Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Coffee and Open Source, a place to meet some new friends, have some great conversations, and maybe learn something on the way. I'm your host, Isaac Levin. And if you're enjoying the conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, follow if you're watching or listening. Also, if you or somebody you know would like to come on the show and have a chat with me, feel free to find me on social media because I'm probably where you are. And the best way to find what my handle is or how to find me is you go to isaacr11.com. You'll see a list of all of the places that I'm at. All right, with that out of the way, I'm looking forward to this. This is somebody that I've worked with in the past. I really haven't spent a ton of time talking to them, so I'm looking to, learn a bit more about them and find out why they enjoy tech so much. So my guest today is Debbie O'Brien. Debbie, do you want to say hello? Introduce yourself.
Hello. So I am me. I am based in Mallorca because it's hot and sunny here. And I don't know. I used to say that I love sport and I spend all my time doing sport, but now I have 2.5-year-old twins, so my sport has disappeared, my time has disappeared, and me as a person has disappeared. But it's fun. Life is fun and busy.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I have some friends that they moved from the U.S. to Mallorca, and I asked him one time, I'm like, "How is it?" And he's like, "I should have moved here like 10 years ago." It's like, you get to, it's just the
It's a good place to live.
like the weather, the food, the people. Like I hear great things about Spain.
I
So
think it's just the outdoor life, as in people don't care if they have money or don't have money, they just go out and have a drink, have
yeah,
fun.
yeah, but you got to work, right? And I think,
You go to work.
yeah. And one of the things that I want to, as we kick off the conversation, I want to, you've been in technology for a bit. I wanted to get from you, like, when was the pivotal moment for you? Like, when did you realize that technology was the thing that you wanted to work on?
All right, so we'll go back. We'll do the full story. But cut me and just kind of say, Debbie, that's too much.
No,
Like,
no,
and jump
no,
if you want.
no. Some stories I actually like. I'm like, oh, you've been talking for 7 minutes straight, friend. Like, let's wrap it up. No, but you have as much time as you need.
So it's kind of all went back to I wanted to be an actress. And I was very keen and like, I just want to, I didn't want to go to university, I didn't want to study, I want to be an actress. My mom was like, okay, that's great. And I used to go to acting school. I've been in TV with Jared Leto. I've been on films. I've done some stuff, right? So it's like, I'm going to do this, but it's not easy to make money. And my mom was like, well, you need a kind of job in the background just in case it doesn't work out. So I was like, all right, then I'll study to be a secretary.
Hmm.
So I went to do a secretarial course. And while I was in this secretarial course, there were people studying graphic design. And I
Hmm.
looked at this graphic design and kind of went, this is really cool. And so I kind of jumped in on that course and said, could I not just like start doing some of this? And they basically said, because I had a lot of free time, and it was really boring. The secretary course was super boring. I was like typing, like, okay,
Sure. Yeah.
that's about as much you get word processor, right? So yeah, so basically this course was graphic design, web design, and TV and video production. So there's a bit of coolness as well in it. They did TV and video production in the second year of it. So I started joining it, and then I started building websites, and it was like, just it wasn't meant to be. We started building websites. That was the year that they got the internet in the actual college.
Hmm.
So we were building on localhost only until the third trimester when finally we were able to deploy a website and actually see what the internet actually was. But we were like full on writing HTML on a blank piece of paper back in the day, whereas JavaScript practically did not exist. CSS was like practically nothing. And that was the website. I think I built a TV guide as my project. And that was on a floppy disk and and happy days. And I got a job straight away. So I actually worked in a company building Dreamweaver websites
Yeah.
for printer manuals and ensuring the text aligned with the images and every language changed. You had to like align it and move it to the next page. And it was super boring. It was super boring. I lasted a year and then I left because I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I moved to Mallorca where I was able to work on a stage doing entertainment in a hotel. And I was living that life for about 7 years as a hotel entertainer, having fun because I wanted to have fun and I didn't want to be in a boring job for the rest of my life.
Sure.
The problem with hotel entertainment in Mallorca is it's seasonal work. So you work for 6 months, 9 months if you're very lucky, and then you have no work. At first, that was great. So I went traveling Australia, then I went traveling Eastern Europe, then I worked in a ski resort, and then I fell in love to happen. Then you have to choose to live in only one country. So now I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
so back in Mallorca, and now I'm like, what do I do in this winter with this 6 months of unemployment? So I started
Yeah.
doing the unemployment courses in Mallorca are free. The government gives you free courses to upskill you to get back into the job front. So I was like, oh, there's a course on PHP, there's a course on Adobe Photoshop. So I started taking these courses, and then I was like, why do all these people not have websites? Like, everyone should have a website. And back then, people did not have a website.
Sure.
So I just walked around the streets asking every bar and restaurant and telling them that they needed a
Brilliant.
website, that people were coming on
Absolutely
holidays.
brilliant.
They were gonna like look at the website to find them. And they were like, we don't need a website. And then someone would go, oh, website, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more. And so I built websites for them. I built a lot of Flash websites. Steve Jobs broke my career then because then I made like, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, this doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, then back into like WordPress stuff. And then I got hired by a German company. It was a startup, and I worked for them. They had an online shop, and I was building all the kind of stuff for them. And I worked for them for a good few years. They had different projects. It was a golf holiday thing, another thing. And it was good fun, but they just kept running out of money. And then every time
Yeah.
they run out of money, I was out of a job again. So it's kind of like back to that seasonal work thing. And then I'd work in a bar, or I'd like I started to study to be an English teacher so I could like have a good long-term career, because getting a career here in Mallorca in tech is really hard.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like, right, I'll just be a teacher. So I was studying to be a teacher. I started giving English classes at weekends and, as an extra when I didn't have tech work. I worked for another couple of startups. Again, they ran out of money. I think we worked for 3 months without getting paid at one stage because we believed so much in the company and the product, and it was so much fun. And then like they said, right, that's it. We seriously have no more money left. And like, you're like, oh, what do we do? So then I basically decided that because the thing is, I was a proper front end developer.
Sure. Yeah.
And what a front end developer did was HTML and CSS.
Yep.
That was my skill set. And I was very, 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 very good at it. But I'd got to the stage that wasn't enough, that React and JavaScript and all this other stuff existed. And I didn't know this existed because I was just so focused in, like, you just do the HTML, you turn, a screenshot or an image into code. It looks pixel perfect, and you pass it on to a programmer who makes everything click.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a programmer.
Yeah.
So nobody would hire me anymore because my skill set and my job had changed.
You had
so
the HTML and
drastically.
CSS, but not JavaScript. So how dare you try to be a front-end developer, right?
Exactly. I mean, I could do a little bit of jQuery, right?
Sure.
Because that was just throw it in. That was easy enough. But I wasn't a programmer. So basically, yeah, I couldn't get a job. So I said, right, I'm just going to be an English teacher, an English teacher, but in like a proper school. So I studied a postgrad in Spanish language, actually, just so I could get a university degree to be able to then go to the school and say, I want to be an English teacher and work. And I was giving up on tech. And while I was in that postgraduate course, there was this thing about jobs and your dream job and what makes you happy and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Why am I being a teacher? I want to do tech. I really like tech. So I basically then kind of had a chat with someone who is a dream builder coach. And she's like, what is your dream? If money, if nothing was in the way, what's your
Sure.
dream?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, my dream is to work for Google.
Sure.
And she's like, this is
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean it's brilliant? I'm never going to be able to work for Google. Like, I'm not good enough to work for Google. And she's like, define Google. Like, what is Google to you? And when you think about it, it's like, okay, why is this such a good place to work? Why do you want to work for this kind of company? And it was all about like working with brilliant people. And this is the key thing, being in a stable environment where you've got a job for life, right? Because being sick of all this, like, startups being let go. And I thought of like my Google as like my safe place. And you go in there. It wasn't about like, the free food and like all the cool kind of thing. That was never a thing for me. So yeah, so basically I kind of said, the thing is, I am not good enough to work for Google. And she said, yet.
Very good. Very good.
And I was
I
like,
love that.
okay, but yeah, but like, she's like, what do you need to be good enough? And I was like, well, I need to learn JavaScript. And she's like, perfect, off you go. And I'm like, no. You have no idea what JavaScript is. You can't just learn it. It's not that easy.
Sure. Yeah.
And she's like, everything can be learned. What do you need to learn it? And the thing is that I'd done like O'Reilly School of Technology learning JavaScript, and I failed. But that was back in the day when you had a teacher by email, and you would send them the code, and they would email you back like 24 hours later saying you're missing a semicolon on line
That's
5.
awful. Yeah.
So it wasn't the best way of learning. Nowadays, it's so much easier. So I basically said it's not possible. I was I was doing my very best to prove to her that this was impossible and that I was never going to be able to learn JavaScript, and I was never going to get a job in one of these companies like Google. So I was like, I'm going to show her that this is not possible. And so it was like, I basically just went onto Google, obviously, and said like, courses to learn JavaScript, and put in like with a mentor, with a this, and I found OpenClassrooms. I don't know if you've heard of OpenClassrooms. It's in France.
I've not, no.
And yeah, so it's kind of like a platform for learning. So you might have heard of Treehouse. I'm trying to think of all the ones like Pluralsight maybe, but a little bit different, because this one had like a program, like a degree program that brought you from 0 to job ready.
Okay.
And it came with a mentor.
So it's kind of like a boot camp, but like not 100%. It's not like it's like it's like individual instead of just kind of like classroom style.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like a year long.
Okay.
But at your own pace, but it should take a year. But it took me 9 months because I had a good base already. So I was like, the first 3 modules, I was like, I know all this, but I didn't know the rest. So I did it in 9 months, which is one of the quickest, but normally it's about a year. And you take it at your pace, and you have a mentor, a video call, and you have the chat. So you're able to like get responses very quickly. I had an absolutely amazing mentor, and I basically just went in and was like, I want to learn JavaScript. I know WordPress. I know this. I know that. I don't want to learn that. I need to learn JavaScript. And he's like, it's your course. You can start wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. But he just said, I advise you to do the others, because then you do get the certificate at the end, and that obviously like is helpful. And they had a job guarantee that if you did not get a job within 3 months, I think it was, or 6 months, you got your whole money back. That's how confident they were that everyone would get hired after doing this.
Wow. Okay. That's
so
wow. Okay. That I have a lot to.
Yeah. So there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you said a lot there. Like, I mean, I think that, so one of the things that I think resonate with me, I think you and I are of similar vintages where, my first like foray into tech was like Notepad, like building a website with like HTML and CSS, right? And then you see like all the permutations of like, oh, like you can do a website this way, or this is your new, like, I remember very much like Dreamweaver being like the easiest way to build a website. And then you realize like very quickly, like the HTML it creates is like the worst HTML that you've ever seen on the planet, because of just the,
Yes.
that
like fireworks with the menu.
Yeah. I mean,
do you remember that?
Look, I love the Adobe products. They're not a sponsor of the show, obviously. I love the Adobe products. I do think that one of the things they do is they have to balance this line between people that are very, very good at using those tools and people that have never used those tools before and are following like how-tos on YouTube. And you can't do both very, very well without irritating one or the other, right? But like asking about that, like, so since you have like I'm just going to phrase this, and if it's not correct, please correct me, like a front-end design background, right? Did you ever go down that path of like learning Illustrator and learning all of those like learning those tools specifically that like built like high fidelity designs, or was it always HTML was kind of your canvas for painting, as you would say?
So I did a lot of work for restaurants where I was designing their menus, the billboards of the streets for all the like restaurants and things like that. But I always like, although I did graphic design, I even won the graphic design student of the year and stuff like that. I never felt like design was my strong point. So I like did it because I had to do it, but I didn't get the enjoyment out of it as much. It was more like, oh my God, I've got to design that. And I don't know what to design, right? Whereas HTML is like, here's the design, go and build it. Okay,
Yeah.
how do I do that? Oh my God, like that's a
Yeah.
different challenge.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like they're tools that do something similar. Like obviously you can do a million things with Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever, but like I think with HTML, because there is like a defined way to do everything, it and I'm gonna phrase this probably incorrectly, but it takes away it takes away the like it puts guardrails on how you are able to create things, because you can do
Hmm.
weird stuff in some of those like outline or design sort of tools that you just can't do in HTML and CSS, because you have they have the constriction of having to be in a browser window. And
Yeah.
especially now where we care so much about like different viewports and caring about different sizes. Like, do you remember, like, here's a fun question. Like, I imagine when you first got started, like the phone wasn't out yet, like the iPhone did not exist.
No, no.
And I'm curious, like, when did you realize that having to design for different size browsers was the most important part of front end design?
Um, I think I think first of all what came in was all the like widgets one that people wanted, like Facebook embedded in pages and things like that. That became first. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you had that new challenge. And that's when I kind of started shifting to WordPress, because I was building like PHP websites and trying to put all this in. It was like too much. And I needed like the help of like some other product that was going to help me build on top of, and be able to bring all this stuff in. And when you kind of started with WordPress, then you had this like almost auto built in websites for mobiles as well. Not all of them, but you were basically buying templates, right? And that's where the design thing went out the window, that you didn't have to think of designing it. You just had to search through a template that someone had designed, and that's what you looked for. You looked and ensured that those websites were also mobile friendly. So when mobiles came out, I was really in WordPress area.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and what was your initial thoughts on the idea of WordPress, where it's like it obviously is a framework for you to build websites, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to adhere very much to how a WordPress site works. Like, you're building things on top of a framework that has some limitations as to what you can do. Did that like help you build things faster, or was it more annoyance than anything else, where it's like, oh, I can't do this because it's inside of WordPress and WordPress does this weird thing with these HTML elements and what have you?
No, like I think if you didn't know the code, then it would be very difficult. But I had learned PHP, so I was able to go into the PHP and modify things and add things in a way that kind of you're able to just extract away. Like I built a theme as well. So, WordPress didn't hold me back. Joomla, that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah,
horrible, right?
yeah.
Um, but then it was like, oh, it was ensuring you had the right theme for each, like the restaurant needed this kind of thing, like someone needed booking a contact page, like what components did you need? And that was really important, because like building a component inside of it was more complicated. But I built a lot of WordPress websites for a lot of companies. Um, and then let them be able to manage it and teach them how to use it. I think that was the hardest part, teaching them how to be WordPress proficient, so
Mm.
that they didn't need me to continue to modify things. And I hated when someone rang and went, "Oh, can you fix this?" And like, "Oh my God, I don't have to go in
Yeah.
there."
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we talk a lot now about front end developers like being like the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but there was a point in time like you're talking about where it's like JavaScript wasn't like this like beautiful like
Hmm.
sexy thing, right? It was very like,
Yep.
oh, like I got to use JavaScript to do this, and then jQuery came out. Like you talked about jQuery,
Hmm.
and I
Yep.
remember like vividly like, the first time I ever built something in jQuery and being like, oh my gosh, like I did not know a world like this existed. I jokingly say to people, like, I think that JavaScript development has gone downhill since jQuery. I really think that. That's
Hmm.
my honest opinion. Like, I think that we've turned JavaScript into something that is so complex and does so many
It's
things
very
that
complex.
we've lost what the original goal of JavaScript was. It was like to manipulate DOM elements, right? And now
Yes.
people can build like web servers and crazy things using like JavaScript, and I don't ever think that JavaScript was supposed to do that, right?
But
um
it's cool that it can
it
do
is
all
cool
this
that
now
it
as
can do that.
well.
Like, I'm not trying to knock JavaScript. I just think like it's very interesting when you see things that go past, I believe, what the creator
Because
of that
JavaScript is
language.
not a front-end developer's language anymore.
Yes, very. And I think that when it was created, that was very much the goal. It's like, you
Yes.
can only go so far with HTML and CSS, so you need to be able to figure out a way to change elements, right? Like in the web 2.0 way, like in quotes. So obviously, like you played around with JavaScript and like you did the jQuery thing. Like, when did you actually feel like you were I mean, I'm going to use the front end developer term in general. Like, when did you feel like you were actually like a developer, right? Because I think for a long part of your time, first part of your career, you're like, I'm not really a developer because people are telling you that. But when did you actually sit down like, Debbie, you're a developer?
Well, I would say programmer, because I always
Sure.
consider
Yeah,
myself a front-end developer because I developed the front end, but the programmer wrote the scripts. The scripts
sure.
were a programmer's job, and developer just developed the website. That's
Okay.
it. That was, I don't know, and it's everything's
That's an
all
interesting
jumbled
way of
together
thinking
these
about it.
days.
Yeah, no. I fair. Like, it's funny because when I think of programmer, like I get this weird feeling in my head because program, I immediately can think of like somebody who like programmed, like built like things in COBOL or Fortran because they like had to program against the mainframe. So when I hear programmer and somebody says it, I immediately think that person started in tech like way earlier than me. So like, or if somebody uses the word engineer, I'm like, oh, you've like built systems that have done like this
Yeah.
particular thing. Like, I immediately judge people based on like how they characterize themselves, if they're a developer, a programmer, an engineer. Let me
I'm an
rephrase.
engineer now. Look at
Yeah,
me.
right. When did you? Okay, better way. When did you feel like that you had a tackle?
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When did you feel like that
I
you
get,
had
I
that you
get
had
you. I
a
get you.
firm grasp on like the three pillars of building web-based applications?
So I don't know if you'd call it a firm grasp when I first kind of was actually doing what I considered a programmer's job. And that was when I finished the OpenClassrooms course. I also did Treehouse as well. So I did a full stack tech degree at the same time I was doing the front end.
Okay.
And when I completed them, I got hired by a company, which is a travel agency online in Spain, which is a massive travel agency. So they had a lot of code and a lot of things going on. And it was just around the time when front-end frameworks were booming up. So I was basically coming in and I had built in Angular and I had built in very badly, like I wasn't an expert, right? But I was coming in and going, we need to be using components. And SAS was very big at the time, right? So I was like creating SAS maps for all this kind of thing, like using variables and things that people had not known about that you could do in the kind of CSS area and turning CSS into almost programming, right? And I was creating node scripts for things, which is kind of like your automation now, what we're doing in the automation world. But I was literally like, if you were manually, you're like putting in a line of code, why are you manually putting in a CSS file in this component? Why don't we have a script that like, does that for you? So I was programming, I was building things, I was automating things, I was writing tests, I was trying to put architecture into things like linters and all the kind of stuff that didn't exist, that was becoming like all the other companies were kind of starting to use. And you're working for a big company that has a big massive code base, and there's like all these problems all the things I just learned, like, why are we not using it? Why, if this is meant to be the way to do things. And then I started just introducing those, and that's how I got moved directly into the architectural department of the company. Because although I was straight out of like a boot camp, as some people might call it, I had all this like 10 years of experience of HTML, CSS, architectural, a different kind of experience building the WordPress websites and etc. So I was tasked with building a framework for the company, along with some other very clever people. And we basically whiteboarded everything out. We did proof of concepts. We came back with like, this is the Angular, this is Vue, this is React. These are our three things we can use. They voted against it. They said, no, we want our own one. Of course you want your own one. And so we built our own front end framework, which is crazy, but it's basically just like React, and just basically you could pull it out and put React on top of it and then it would just work. But because that company was using Pug at the time, to throw them in and get developers to learn something new would have been difficult. So we wanted to keep them in their language and just have minimal disruption possible. And so we built it in a way that their pug files could still live, and that could just migrate. The CSS could still live, and everything was like componentized. And then your SaaS maps would be able to use it across different kind of like brands and white label brands and things like that. And it was a amazing project actually to have been a part of. Oh, I've lost your audio.
That's because I put myself on mute because I was coughing a little bit. Yeah, it's so funny because like it seems like you specifically, you just like found opportunities to like solve problems and like learn along the way,
Mhm.
right? Where do you think that comes from? Have you always been like a very curious person? Did you like, you've always looked for a problem to solve? Like, I'm curious to know because I think some people have that
Mm.
skill and some people don't.
I think so because I remember when I was doing like maths in school, I'd finished the maths school book before the end of the year that they had to give me another book to do because I just liked doing homework, like specific like tasks like that. Obviously some parts of school I did not like, but there were things I liked, and if I liked it, I would just like continue doing it. And maths for me is problem solving. So if I found a fun thing to solve, I'd be like, oh, I want to do the next one. I want to learn the next one.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, from what I remember.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least for me too. Like when I think of, um, like solving problems, I think that's like what I really find interesting about technology. Like I don't really care
Yes.
about algorithms. I don't really care about like, how a compiler turns like managed code into like I don't care about like really all that. I really care about
Hmm.
like, hey, business A has a problem and how do we use technology to solve that problem? Um, so with that, like obviously at some point in time you realize like there's money in tech, like that you can make a career out of it, that you can be successful. Like
Hmm.
how far in your career were you when you realized like, oh, this is something that I can do the rest of my life?
I don't even think that right now believe that anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean that's fine too.
Right. So obviously like my job my dream was to kind of, to be honest, I wanted job security.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
a full-time job. I had been working 2 to 3 jobs to survive in order to pay the bills, in order to pay the rent, etc. I was always working weekends, and I wanted to have a job where I did not have to work weekends, where I could work. It didn't have to be 9 to 5. It doesn't really matter. The hours were not important, but that I could basically, finish my day, and on a Saturday and Sunday, I could go cycling and do fun stuff
Sure.
because I was never able to do any of that because I was constantly working just to survive. And then tech was basically something I didn't look at it as a money because I live in Spain and the Spain salaries are not good enough for you to kind of go into tech for the money. So it was never about money for me. Obviously now it's different, right?
Sure.
But at the time, it was just like, it's a job and it's all year round. And I was getting a normal salary when I first started. Like, I wasn't on an amazing salary. I was on a normal salary, but then my salary jumped up as I changed companies. And then it was kind of like going, wow, look how much I earn now just from changing jobs. Like, that's crazy. And I think that's when you kind of say, like, oh, and obviously, like, then when you go work for Microsoft, then it's like, oh my God, now you really are earning money.
Yeah.
But in the Spanish companies, you're just normal wage. You could be working in a bar and probably get more sometimes. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it is funny too because I think especially in the United States, like we're very guilty of like, okay, you're in tech, so you have money. But and I never really think of like other countries and how that works. But yeah, if you work at a big multinational tech company, you're gonna be making some money. Um, but I think one thing that, at least for me in my career, like I started out building like web apps. And then based on a job that I took, I started doing more like back end sort of stuff. And I kind of went back and forth. Like, for you specifically, did you have opportunities to like work on other like stacks or other like ways of building apps? Or was it always like, I want to build web apps because I like building web apps and I like the frameworks and I like the tools that I'm using?
I mean, I learned a lot about the back end because I was working after the agency, the travel agency job. I ended up working as in an actual agency, web agency, right? So building or being sent to different clients to solve their problems. So you kind of need to understand everything to be able to solve the problem. You can't just walk in and go, I know the front end and this is what you
Yeah.
should do in front end, because the back end it's coupled together so much. And a lot of them, their front end was back end code.
Hmm.
right? And it's just like, it was like, no, you're like a Blazor site, or you're like, no, this is not front end. This is like, what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah.
So you had to understand how things are built and etc. So I would learn and understand, but not be able to do. I wouldn't call myself a back-end programmer at all, but I understood all the concepts and all the ideas and everything that they were coming through. And I would make sure I went to the conferences that had all those back-end talks, so that I would sit in on those and understand what is this, what is this, what is this, so that I could be the person in the room to be able to have the right conversations and not
Yeah,
kind of go, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I only know this part. I
sure.
was able to answer those questions, but then put somebody on it that actually knew what they were doing when it came to building the back end, right? And I managed teams in both front end and back end. So it was important for me to know what was going on. But I didn't really have the like, I want to build in .NET or I want to build in Java, because the language was never that important to me. It was
Sure.
more like, I want to build. And I kind of feel like a lot of the jobs I had were not really about like converting code to HTML and CSS
Yeah,
anymore. It was more about solving problems.
yeah,
Like, I was going in and their tech stack was so old, it was outdated. How do we upgrade it? How do we change? Where do we change to? Do we continue in Angular JS? Do we go to actual, Angular 2? Do we move on? Do we change, like, and thinking about those concepts and bringing in like Tailwind come out, I was like, let's start using Tailwind. Why would we use Tailwind compared to everything else? And testing the things out, being sure that you understood the benefits, the problems, a lot of proof of concepts, and then bringing it towards the team and saying, right, this is the way we're going to design websites. And I remember building a Nuxt website for a company, and they like nearly had a heart attack. This is a what? You're building like a single page application, kind of static site.
yeah.
Um, like, this should be a HTML page. I don't want a website. I just want a HTML page. Like, no, you don't, because
You don't.
you're you don't. And trying to teach people, like how the web was developing, how the web was going, like evolving. I think it's always being about being at the top of everything, knowing where everything is going and understanding it, and then bringing that knowledge back down to people and trying to bring them up. And
Yeah.
that's been always what I've been doing.
Yeah, and I think with that, like, I think it transitions really well into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. Like, obviously, I know you because you've been a person that has been out there. Like, you create content, you
Mhm.
like talking about the things that you're learning. Like, when did that really become a thing for you? Because I think another thing about tech is I think that there are people that use tech for money, and there's people that use tech because they love tech and they love talking about it.
Mhm.
And I think that you're obviously one of the latter. So, at what point in time did you kind of transition to this, like, oh, I want to like document the work I'm doing and like see if other people can learn from it?
So this actually came back to the job that I first got when where I moved into the architectural department. And obviously we're building this front end framework. And I went to my first conference that year. So I saw someone on a stage. I didn't know conferences existed. I
Sure.
didn't know you could
Yeah.
be on a stage giving a talk. I love the stage. I'm like, I want to be an actress, remember? So I want to be on that stage. But I was like, I'm not good enough to be on that stage, talk to people in tech. They're much more cleverer than me. They're all those programmers. They know their stuff. What would I talk about? Um, so in the job I was in, they encouraged us also, they were very into open source. So they encouraged us as much as possible to give back to open source and to share what we were doing. So we built like a blog, and obviously I built the blog.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And and then like, start writing about what we were doing. So I was writing blog posts, and then they told me, okay, why don't you go to conference and give a talk on what we've just built?
Mm.
And I remember like going, oh my God, that would be so cool. And then like I'd fill out the whole thing, and then I go, oh no, 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 I'm not doing this. No way, no way. And then like my boss just pressed the button and like sent. And I'm like, oh no, but it's okay because they're never gonna like accept it anyway. And then I got accepted, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? Now I have to go to Lithuania. It was the first conference I ever did. I've got to go to Lithuania and give a talk at Bill stuff. And I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. It's actually a really good talk. It's still online. It's like it was, how we built our front end framework and why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it was just about lessons learned, things we did along the way. So it's just a very true, honest account. And it was a story. it was very easy to give a talk about a story because there was no learning to do about it. You could just walk on stage, and I built my slides and I knew the story and had all the questions like that, anyone could ask about it. And after I did that first talk, I was buzzed. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that you could go to conferences and they would pay for your flights and your hotel to go. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, I can do this. Like, this is amazing. So I just then started applying to other conferences, again, sharing what I was doing. So Nuxt became something that I was doing for like a lot of the agencies and companies. So I was like, why don't I talk about Nuxt? Why don't I talk about this? And then I just kept, giving talks because I liked it and I like to travel. And this is a free way of traveling. This didn't cost me money to be able to go to another country and give a talk. This is amazing. And the company supported me and allowed me to do it, which was great. And then Nuxt offered me a job when they first became a company. And they said, we want you to be our developer advocate. And that's how I became then officially a developer advocate.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. when did, like, I guess obviously the question that I always have for people that kind of got started in developer advocacy is, what were some expectations that you had about the job or assumptions you had about the job? And then you started doing the work and you're like, oh, this is not exactly at all what I thought it was going to be. Because a lot of people think it's like, oh, I go to conferences, I write some blog posts or whatever, but there's so much more, right? Like, when did you realize or discover like the more part of developer advocacy?
I think I was constantly doing the job before I got hired to do the job.
Sure.
So now I was actually getting paid and guided to do the job in the direction that the company kind of wanted you to do it in, as opposed to just me going out there and giving my ideas. And obviously, like, it was a very small startup. Nuxt was a small amount of people. It's the first time they become a company. It was open source project, really cool guys. So it was really nice to work for them, but also it was in the difficult times when COVID happened. So all travel stopped.
Sure.
Everything
Yeah.
became online. So we just had new challenges straight out of the boat. So it's kind of like everything just became different all of a sudden. So it was a really kind of interesting developer advocacy year. Because you were like, how can we talk to people? How can we communicate more? And you just found ways to advocate even more because you wanted to be online. You didn't want to be, I don't know, hidden in your own room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just like looked for ways to get out. And obviously there were other work like docs and things like that was part of my job. Because again, startups, you wear more hats. But it never became something that I thought, oh, I didn't know you had to do that. I wasn't expecting that, or I didn't want to do that. Like everything was great.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the work is really fulfilling too, because I feel like at sometimes, like if we're in tech and if you work for even a small company, like you feel like you're just kind of moving the wheel around, right? But then you go and like you go to a conference or you create a video and you see people commenting on it, or you see people like, they want to talk to you afterwards. You actually feel like you're doing something and actually interacting with people instead of just kind of moving
Yeah.
things along. Um, like, what is your favorite thing to do, like in the developer, experience or developer relation space? Is it speaking at conferences? Is like, what is the thing if you were to ask, like in a job interview, like, Debbie, what do you love about DevRel?
Do you know what? That's a really difficult question. I think a couple of years ago, I would definitely have said speaking at conferences and traveling around the world and speaking everywhere. And I was literally doing a lot of that in the previous years. But now with kids, it's changed
Yeah.
because my life has changed. So the conference thing, as much as I love it and want to do it, I cannot do it as much and often as I would want to do it. So it's now become something I love doing, but something I do not prioritize as more important than being home with my family. Um, I think it's about the people, being able to show people something and have that conversation with them and almost educate them or teach them something new, something that they didn't know. And which is what you do when you give a talk, right? You kind of come on and you go, did you like this is the way you can do something. This is how you could test your app. This is how you could build a static site. And you're bringing in something, you're innovating something to them, and then you walk off that stage, and the best part of the talk is the people that come up after you and ask you those
Yep.
questions and just have those conversations with you because you learn from those conversations as well. Because you kind of go, oh, I didn't think about that, or oh, let me check that out. Like, it would get back to you. And then you almost now have this like new kind of like things to explore and ideas that you didn't know because your world is so small. But when you go on that stage and you show this big world, they like have all this other ideas of like how to use your product, how to do this kind of thing. So I think those conversations are very important. So yeah, I mean, making videos is cool, and giving podcasts, doing the like chatting with you is also cool, etc.
Oh, thanks.
But definitely it's about learning from people and teaching them and learning back from them, I think, if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely does. I think in my opinion, and this is something that I don't have any, this is all anecdotal, but I think that we generally are looking for connection with people, right? I think,
Hmm.
and if you can connect with somebody, about some silly thing, like you like tabs versus spaces, or your favorite JavaScript front end is React, or whatever it is, right? Like
Yeah.
you connect with those people, and then you kind of build like some like you build a community, right? And I've always been
Yes.
very I've always said that, without community, I think tech is very boring because you're just like you're shuffling stuff
Hmm.
around. You're like deck chairs in the Titanic, right?
You're just an AI agent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can talk about that. Like, I think that there's very much like I feel that the people in technology are a community, and there's obviously a smaller piece of that community, but it's all people that like they see value in you know, using technology as a tool to solve problems. And with that, let's talk about
Mhm.
AI because that's complete shit, puts everything on its head, right? Um, we were talking about this a little bit before we got started because, I was
Mhm.
talking about how, to publish these episodes of this podcast, like I have a co-pilot agent that does like a lot of the work for me. And we were joking about like I'm able to do stuff much faster. And if you listen to the news, it's like, yes, you can do that, but also there's other stuff. So I'd like to kind of get your thoughts. Like, obviously, you've probably gone through like more, like multiple like opinions of AI, right? And maybe walk me through a little bit of like your journey as like going from like, oh, this is really really cool, like I can generate, a taco recipe, or to like, oh, I can actually have it do like generate code for me. And now it's like, oh, I have an idea and I don't want to spend like a week building it. Now I can build it in the matter of a few hours. Like, tell me about the story for you as you build your opinion on AI.
So I always have loved AI. I've always found that it's helped me be able to be more successful and do more. So I've never had that opinion of like AI is bad or that I don't like it or anything like that. And I think as well, I was working at Microsoft when AI became like the thing, right? So I was lucky to be as part of the core AI team and to have amazing bosses that actually pushed us to use AI. And I remember like one of my bosses, Scott Hunter, who said like he spends 2 hours a day um, playing around with AI and using it as much as possible and try and get rid of meetings and learn more and do more. And when you start to do that and learn more and do more, and you actually focus and put your time into it, you end up then just becoming more knowledgeable and better at using it. And it's a tool. So the better you can use a tool, the better you can actually get things done. Otherwise, you get scared of it because you don't know it can do certain things or how to work it and how to use it properly. And obviously we started with Copilot like way back. I was one of the first users. I was a GitHub star at the time, so we were using Copilot. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, this knows what I'm thinking. This is just like reading my brain and bringing
Sure.
it
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
right? And that was kind of scary and cool at the same time. But then when it started to becoming like, obviously, if I look at my Playwright days, there was a lot of things in my job that, I didn't like doing that was, tedious, such as
Mm.
updating the screenshots of the documentation website, making slides for a conference talk. I hate making slides. I don't know about you, Isaac, but I hate making slides.
It's
It's just
hard.
like it's the
Sometimes it's
worst part of the
hard.
conference
Sometimes
talk.
it's hard.
Yes.
But I feel really good when I make a good slide. Like I built this. Like
Oh
I had a
yeah.
talk a couple weeks ago, and I I wanted to build like an image, and I was like, I could have Gemini create this for me, or I could maybe try to do it myself. So I like went into Canva and I created myself. Felt so good. Like I even told like the audience, I'm like,
Yeah.
I built this slide. No AI. This is all me, and I was very proud of myself. But I interrupted you. Continue. Go ahead.
That's okay. But yeah, so things like that, things that held you back, which meant we had a lot of things we wanted to do and you were never able to get all of them done. And I had all these cool ideas and all these things, and it was just like, not going to happen, right?
Sure.
Um, and obviously now anything is possible.
Yeah.
So now there is no time blocker. There is no, I need a teammate that can help me build it. you can just do it. And I think that just opens so many gates, and it allows me to be able to be the even better programmer than I am a programmer, but now I'm even better because now I don't need to fully have the skills of being able to write specific code, being able to use a specific database. I can actually just go ahead and use it. I understand how everything works. I think that's very important. I have the technological, architectural kind of knowledge base around it, but I can basically think about everything, script it down, and basically say, this is the application I want to build. This is how it should work, and then put it in the hands of someone. And I've done that by leading a team of people and have had a team of people actually go ahead and build it. And now I have an agent that can build it. So now I can build it for myself, for the job I'm in, for whatever. So I think that's the kind of like, the coolness. I think a lot of the time as well, when people had those opinions about AI when it wasn't working, right? Oh, it just hallucinates. And I, lived through that as well. I mean, obviously, like I was pushing AI, into Playwright products, and, they weren't like the tests weren't being written all 100%
Yeah.
great. And people were like, oh, well, this is crap and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, but it is now, but it's going to get better. This is going to get better. And I think having that vision is really important, that you kind of see like, we're just starting. It's like when you were starting with, anything, it always evolves and gets better. Nuxt, when it started, wasn't the Nuxt is today, and everything evolves. So you have to learn to start with it, what's going to get better, how to work on that, etc. Obviously lately, like I'm building a lot of skills, a lot of workflows. I have a blog post out there recently about how I wrote the docs for our new product in 4 days with zero product knowledge. Like, how would I go through that whole code base, understand the code, and write docs from it? Like, it would have been impossible. That would have taken at least a month, and I would have had too many headaches. I would have resigned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being able to get somebody else to read through all that, and I created like the release videos for Goose and for Nuxt, where basically reading through the changelog and creating a workflow that goes and reads through it, gets the 5 most featured items, and then basically creates slides for them, animates the slides, and then goes and uses the MCP from 11 Labs, takes my voice clone, throws my voice clone on it with the script that it created, pieces it all together, and bang, 1-minute video created. Like, that's cool.
It
I'm
is. Yeah.
sorry, it's cool. It's very AI, but it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know, like the AI 11, like the 11 labs to me is like, I don't know, it feels like it's almost like one step uncanny valley for me at least, because I don't like my voice. I think what it really is, it's like, why would AI want to like generate a version of my voice? But I think it's all about like, because your examples I thought are very interesting. It's like you're using it as a learning tool and you're using it as an optimization tool, not a replacement tool. And I think that's the best way to do it, because at the end of the day, it's like, I was talking to somebody about this last week. Like, there are so many different ways to learn today, but do you know what's a really good way to learn is like getting like an exact example of what you're trying to learn and seeing it, right? Or, you're at a prompt and you say like, explain this, what this method does, or explain this, right? It just makes your life like, you don't have to go and hunt for answers as much as you used to.
Yeah.
And yes, there's all these negative things too about AI, but like, I think that we're kind of getting to the point where people are figuring out how to use them effectively and still do their job without like like all their job being done by this. Like, sure, there are still people that they sit in front of a prompt and like their entire day is just sitting in front of a prompt, like directing things. Um, like I'm curious for you, like especially in the front end world, because I'll be the first one to say this thing has like made my interest in like learning CSS is like 0, right? Like, I literally can just like, hey, I want it to look like this. I can do like a mock drawing of what I want things to look like, and it'll do it for me. Like, what is your opinion on like skills that developers don't want to learn being kind of augmented by AI? Like, instead of you wanting to learn something, it's like, oh, okay, do you not care how like FlexGrid works? Like, doesn't matter. Here's some CSS that makes FlexGrid work.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because does it matter? Question. I don't open code anymore.
Yeah.
I don't use code. I don't write code. I get everything done through my agent, and I only kind of review code on a PR. if I even review it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I will take it to an agent and get it reviewed. There's an agent already reviewing it. And then from that review, I'll also get another agent to review it. And I'll ask questions on that code. So on that review, I'll say, well, do you think this is actually the right decision here? Why should we use this over this? And I obviously I'm looking through things, but I'm not reviewing it like I used to review, where I'm going through the line of code myself and adding the comment saying, oh, I think this should be a function here. And I think this, because that's kind of, we've bypassed that, I think.
Yeah.
So now it's about more kind of decisions, like architectural decisions, or sometimes you kind of know, like, are you really sure that this is the right thing? I think in the latest version of Nuxt, actually, they don't do it like this anymore. And you pass in the documentation, then you get like, oh, you're right. Actually, yes, this is the right way. So having that kind of knowledge and things. When it comes to CSS, I think most of the agents now are basically just throwing in, React and probably Tailwind into everything.
Yeah.
And so the need of learning CSS has become much reduced.
Sure.
Now, what happens when things go wrong and you really need something to look good? Who's going to have those skills? Who's going to fix that? The agent is very, very good at fixing it. And I remember back when I gave a talk on GitHub's product, what's it called? Star something. I can't remember the name.
GitHub Spark.
But Spark, there's the one. And I gave a talk on Spark, and this is back in September, right? So imagine I built a talk in like July, August. So it's like 10 years ago, right? In the AI world. And at that point, I was fighting with it so badly because it was like messing up the tailwind, and I would go into the code and I screenshot it and go, look, agent, look at all this. This is not the way you do things. Go and fix this, right? And now that's not the way the agents are doing it. They're doing it much better. Whereas back then you did have to kind of have the CSS knowledge. And I think right now you kind of almost don't. You only do if there's a problem.
Yeah,
which basically means you don't need everybody to learn CSS.
Yeah, I mean,
on your team.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating because it's like, but I think that too, like, I think that there's still value in having people that know CSS very well, right? Like, I think,
for sure.
Yeah, but I think the balance is very interesting. It's like, do we see a world in the future where like there's teams that's like, okay, this person is the CSS person, this person is the, I don't know, Go person, whatever, right? And you have like people have very specialized skill sets, and then like you have agents that are doing all of the work. What?
Anyone can learn anything in any moment of time. So
Sure.
you can be an expert tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can literally go, CSS, I need to learn all this. And you can, I don't mean that in a bad way, because someone's like, no, you can't learn CSS in a day. But you know what I mean? As in, I don't think we need to have someone on the team as a CSS expert. We need someone on the team who can be a CSS expert if they need to be in a very short space of time.
Sure. No, I agree with that. I think the problem that I see, and this is just from somebody that is probably one of those people that has that problem. It's like, sometimes it's easy for me to learn new things, and sometimes it's impossible for me to learn new things because I don't have an interest. So it becomes one of those things where I think at the end of the day, like, you need to have an interest to learn these tools, or else you will not learn these tools, right? So so I'm curious, like, for you, like, you mentioned like I don't open code anymore. Like I don't bang out for loops anymore. But
again, I do a different job to other people that might be listening to this going, then you're not fully, and I'm not fully doing what they're doing. So again, it depends on the scope of your job. Sometimes you might have to be looking at the code and, maybe not banging out for loops, because that can be done for you. But there are times when you should be looking at the code.
Yeah.
That's different use cases.
Yeah. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that you don't go to writing the code first. You go to the prompt to direct the agents to write the code for you. And I think that's a very interesting shift. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't start with a prompt. I think the first thing you need to do is understand what you want to do.
Okay.
Discuss and elaborate on it and come up with a very solid idea and plan. The idea I have right now is not the idea that gets built.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah.
So it's like going back into the company when you used to be in the office with the whiteboard and you had the product manager, the designer, the back-end developer, the front-end developer, and somebody else. And you all got on the same page. You go, we're going to build this app. This is the architecture we want. This is how it should work. This is how this. And you designed it all together. And then you went off and then you started putting back in the day, you used sticky notes on the wall
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
as your Kanban, right? And everyone started taking things off and doing it. It's back to that kind of practice. So it's not just go in and you do a prompt and you build an app. That's not how you should be doing things. That's for playing around with. My husband did that. He got this great app. Yeah, it's fine, but that's not production ready app. You really need to kind of understand what you want and discuss. I discuss with my agent all the time. I ask about, what are we missing if we don't do this? Have we thought about this? What's our confidence rate that this is going to be, etc. I think that's very important. Architectural thinking.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the idea that it's like before you I've coined this term. I'm going to say this on every episode. It's like once you hit enter, it costs someone money, right? So the idea that you don't have a well thought out plan when you hit enter is just a waste of time. Because right now, like time is the most important thing. Because how fast you build things or how fast things are created is the only bottleneck, right? It's no longer
Yeah.
learning, it's no longer whatever, right? It's how fast can you get what's in your head or what the business problem is into a prompt that can get you the best output possible. So it takes a lot, and this is what I struggle with too. It's like we were never taught this. Like we were never really taught like how to effectively take what was in our brain and type it out into English, right? Like I think that there's some disciplines in tech that maybe that's a bit more aligned, but most developers didn't take that class, right? Like most engineers,
Yeah.
most programmers didn't take that class. So like as we wrap up, like, you know, what are some of the things that you're using or things that you're thinking about for like e- exercising that muscle of like being able to take what's in Debbie's head and turn it into something that can be used to generate things?
See, I think I already had that muscle because of all the experience I've had in the past where
Mm,
it comes to solving the problems for all the companies and like whether that be create the application or the architecture side or upgrading. So it's all about listening to like what the needs are of the company. At the moment, like let's forget our personal projects, but talking about your job,
yeah.
what does the company want to do? What do they want from you? Is it tests? Is it, to build a demo application to showcase certain features? Well, you've got to kind of like really think about things. And the best way to think about things is to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
So I like to use my agent as if they're a person who just does not turn on their camera. And you work with that colleague every day. They never turn on the camera, so you don't see their face. And they're really good at their job, but you kind of also doubt a little bit about their direction of things. Just like you would doubt any person and any colleague, you would never. If someone, Isaac, if me and you worked together and you said, Debbie, we should build in React with Tailwind and a story, I'd be like, why do you think we should build in React?
Yeah.
Should we not try Vue? Should we not? And then I would have that conversations. And then someone would win, or we just decide together, okay, well, this is the best way. We've always done things. We've never just gone in with a first plan and go, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So I think having the conversation with the agent and basically that kind of gives you the confidence to say, oh, right, I have a good, solid structure of where we're going to go with this. And when I was doing the talk for like GitHub Spark, and I did it on live. I did a live talk where I built an app live, and I had the people in the room, and they were like, "Let's add a card that you turn the card, it turns around, and it's a quiz, and you get the answer on the back, kind of
Sure.
thing." And we were making it up as we went along, and it was a disaster. It was a complete disaster because it didn't work because we're just like throwing things on it, and then like obviously the agent is building code on top of code on top of code on top of code. There's just no, it's just a mess, and that's what happens. You have to have that decisions first, those things. What happens when you click that card? What happens when you do this? I think as well, this comes from a lot of wireframing. I did a lot of wireframing back then, when you literally like draw
Yeah. Yeah.
wireframes
Yeah.
of your whole application. And this is like talking out your wireframes, if that makes sense.
It does. And I mean, you can even still use wireframes. Like you can take a balsamic, you can use like balsamic, which is a well-known tool to like build wireframes. You can literally output that to a
Mhm.
PNG, put it into an agent and
Yep.
say like, build me something like this, right? I mean, I think at least you have proven to me at least, and I'm a skeptic and I'm not a skeptic and I like these tools and I don't like these
Mhm.
tools. Like you have proven to me that it's like at least to me you are like the person that is using these tools like most effectively, right? Because you're seeing
Mhm.
problems all over the place and just like, okay, well, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I want to be able to like direct things.
Yep.
Maybe it comes from your theater background. Like maybe you were meant to be a director, not an actor. Who knows, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Um, this conversation has been great, Debbie. I really appreciated like learning a bit about your background and like the things that you find interesting and like what you're, how you're using different tools to be successful. I love it. And for folks that aren't following Debbie, I highly recommend you do. There's some links in some show notes to find people. One place is Blue Sky. You can find her at debbie.codes, debbie.codes, codes. I believe that's also your website. So like that's a place to go to.
Yes.
And there'll be some more links like I mentioned below. Before we sign off, my friend, do you have any parting words?
I would say, if anyone out there is not using AI, well, I think everyone is using AI, but I'm not using AI to the extent that they should be using AI because they're kind of stuck and thinking, I don't really know how to use it properly.
Yeah.
Start using it as if it's your colleague that just joined in the company that won't turn their camera on, and just have that conversation like it's a person and see how you go with that. And every time you're thinking, I'm going to do this, go, I'm going to ask my friend, my little friend, this little agent, what they think about it, and just say, hey, what do you think about if we built this together?
Yeah.
And then just see how it evolves. And all of a sudden, you're going to be using AI much better.
I mean, I think experimentation with these things is key. Like in figuring out like how you interact with it, which way of interaction is going to be making the most successful, right? I definitely think the one word prompt and then getting irritated that it doesn't give you what you want, like that's a low hanging fruit. But like I still see that tons, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that they're like learning these tools is important. Figuring out things you don't like doing anymore, how these tools can do them for you,
Hmm.
very very important. This has been great, Debbie.
And
Yeah,
asking as well, like if you like, I don't know what can be done or how it can be done. Like I don't know what we're capable of these days. So it's like literally kind of saying, is there a way that we can do this? Bang, the AI to go, sure, there's a tool called this and we can just use this. I'm like, what?
did not know.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
even know
Oh
this.
my gosh. Yeah. Every time, like, hey, I'm trying to do this. You should use this tool. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that saved me. That saved me a bunch of time trying to do it from hand. Um,
Which would have happened, Isaac, if we were at a conference and I was like, oh, I'm thinking of doing this. You would have said, oh, did you not know this existed? It's the same thing.
every time, every time, every time. Um, Debbie, this has been great. I really appreciate your time,
Thanks.
and I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And I want to thank the folks who are watching this live, as well as the folks that are listening in the future. So, my name is Isaac Levin. This has been Coffee and Open Source. Share this episode with your friends if you like, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. For my friend Debbie, take care.